Books. We all should read them, and we all should read more of them, but we all make excuses, but no more. I read 30 books last year, and I'm going to show you my top 3 and how I stayed so consistent. This is extremely important no matter who you are, and especially if you're a student. The first sort of books I'm going to talk about are ones that are about your future, about making decisions about what you want to do with your life. I'll just come over to the bookshelf here and grab my favourite books, and I know you're going to love these because I love them so much, and I can truthfully say some of them changed my life, so check them out. Okay, the first book I'm going to talk about is The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. And this book's unusual, and it's really great in the way you read it. I mean, it is just one page every day, or a couple pages every day, and one, what Robert Greene calls, a law. And these laws are sort of meditations and reflections, and they're things you focus on. So if I open to January 11th, like I have here, this reflection is what makes you feel more alive. And what this book is great for, and reading this book as a student and reading this book as a young adult, it was really great for trying to navigate that part of life where I'm figuring out what I want to do, what makes me tick, what my interests are, and sort of discovering that part of myself. If I open it to this page here, the law is do something today that you used to love doing as a kid. Try to reconnect with your impulse voices. I think it's a great point. I think when you're young, you're making all these decisions about your future, and it's very easy to stumble through life and not really know what you're doing. I want you to imagine you're a ship on the vast ocean with no anchor. You're just floating around with the waves, There's no direction, you're just swent wherever the tide takes you. You have no idea where you're going, you're just washing around, and you're not rooted to anything. What this book helped me do, it helped me set a plan. It helped me root myself to something. It helped me discover what I like, my morals, what I hold valuable, what I want to do. It helped me start thinking about those things. It acted as my anchor. And no more could the waves just wash me around. There was actual stability. I had foundations to build on. I understood what makes me tick and what I wanted to do. And that meant I didn't get washed up in tides like you can when you're young. Next, I want you to think about a compass. Imagine you're now at this sea and you're anchored, but you need to get somewhere. You can't stay anchored forever. You've got to move into the unknown. You've got to get somewhere. Now imagine you lift that anchor up and you just get washed again. You have no idea where you're going. You need a compass. And this book really helped me to start planning and actually start thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to get to? And if you don't have that compass, it's very easy to let other people make decisions for you, to do things you don't really care about, to do things and live a very unfulfilling life full of lack of purpose and not knowing what you want to do. So I think it's a really important meditation, and this book really helped me focus on a lot, was guiding me down a path of helping me find what I wanted to do and helping me find, okay, a lot of confidence in that and reconnecting with my past and being a kid and what I enjoyed then. I love that you have a meditation to think about every day. And actually, you'll find he's done a really careful plan. It sort of guides you down this really amazing path where you eventually, come the end of December, you've suddenly realised you've been taken on this absolute walk through self-discovery, mastery, and you have actually a way firmer idea of what you want to do. So I definitely recommend this book. Before I tell you the next book on this list, I want to tell you how I stay so disciplined and actually read all these books. And it's very simple. I read 10 pages every day, no matter what. If you do this every day for a month, for 30 days, that's 300 pages. And that is a book of this size. And if you do that for a year, that's this many books. If you actually do the maths and do this over 10 years, that's 36,500 pages and 114 300-page books in 10 years. And that is a ridiculous amount. And this is really not hard to do every day. And the best thing about this method, it doesn't include all the books you'll read and all the extra pages you'll read just on motivation, because even if you're disciplined, motivation is still going to exist. And if you're reading a really great book, you're going to want to read it more. This is to get you through those slogs where you don't have that motivation. And when you combine those two together, you read so many books. It is just the best method. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is Plato's The Republic. And it's probably one of the most important philosophy books ever. And as a precursor to this, I just want to say a lot of people think philosophy is going to be really engaging because it's obviously answering some really important questions, what's the meaning of life, all of those things. But it's going to be further from the truth sometimes. It can be quite tedious to read. It can be quite hard to understand at points. So just remember to use that 10-page method I showed you and keep persevering. This book just blew me away when I read it. It's a masterclass in logical reasoning and questioning. And the main reason it's on this list is because the improvement of these facets of my life completely rewired my understanding of politics, social issues. It really taught me how to argue and get my point across. And I suppose mainly that culminates in being able to evaluate something quite efficiently. And when you easily understand how to evaluate something, you can really apply that to your own life and identify your own shortcomings and treat yourself like a study where you're revising or arguing with yourself. And there's this great clip of Charlie Munger, and he talks about this concept, but he calls it reverse thinking. And this book really helped me with it, so I'll show you the clip now.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that you, as a discipline, look at what the risk is on the other side of the situation and you avoid that. That's one of the rules, right?
Well, it's just it's like a lot of practical problems in algebra. If you invert, you can solve it easily. If you don't, you can't solve it easily.
Exactly right.
And so, of course, I had that trick very early. Most people, they say, how can you, please tell us what you do to save India or to help India. And of course, I would approach it differently. I'd say, what could I do which would most easily hurt India? And approaching it in reverse that way, I got better results.
You look at the vulnerabilities.
Yeah, yes, and I have a whole bag of tricks like that.
I think this trick is very, very true, and I think it's absolutely right. As humans, we're very critical and way better at finding that parts and the positives and the benefits of something. So I definitely try this exercise, and it's something I do all the time whenever I have a new idea or I'm doing something that I'm unsure of. And I almost ask myself, okay, what don't I want to be, or what don't I want to do? And that's much easier than asking what I do want to do, because there's many more things that can go wrong and only a certain amount of things that can go right. So definitely try that exercise. Okay, so the next book I want to talk about is a fiction book. And I hear a lot of really ignorant opinions about fiction books. You know, oh, they're a waste of time, I'm focused on the real world, this isn't relevant, all of those sorts of things. And that is a really, really stupid opinion. You see, fiction's like a map, and the stories, the characters, the places in them, the themes, they're like plots on the map. Through storytelling and fictional concepts, we explore really important themes that are quite rooted in real-world discourse and those sorts of things. And this is for a large part because we can isolate things. So we can have characters that are entirely good or personify a certain characteristic, or an area that personifies a characteristic, those sorts of things. And when we do this, those themes can be sort of identified under a microscope. Whereas when in the real world, it's very hard to have something like that because there's a lot of nuance in things. No one is entirely good, no one's entirely bad, that sort of thing. So fiction is really great for exploring themes in detail, and anyone that has any sense will recommend fiction books and will read lots of them. And moving on from this, my brother taught me this technique a while back, and he calls it the boardroom technique. Essentially what you do is you close your eyes and you imagine a character from a book, a fictional one. So it could be Gandalf, James Bond, and I'll sit there and I'll ask them questions and I'll propose an issue with them. And I think what that allows you to do is take yourself out of the equation, and it almost isolates those parts of your personality. So if I'm speaking to Gandalf, I'm speaking to that sensible, grown-up, adult part of me. And you can almost do this and isolate any character trait by thinking of a character that relates to that character trait, and then you ask them what you do and you ask them a solution. And what that does, it sort of allows you to isolate that character trait, and therefore we can sort of look into it and actually explore it and bypass a lot of our ego. And the next book on my list has a character that's very dear to me, and he is certainly in my boardroom. And that book is Count of Monte Cristo. And I know it looks intimidating, but it is an epic book. It's absolutely legendary. And although it looks really long, it really pulls you through, and you can finish it really quickly because it's so thrilling and exciting, and it's just so well written. And without giving much away, this book has a heavy feature of revenge. But that's not really why I love it and why I'm recommending it. It's more so the character of the Count of Monte Cristo. He's so well written, and he's exactly who you want to be as a man, or as just a person in general. He's confident, but not too overconfident. He's powerful, but he's not overbearing. He is kind and he's compassionate, but he also knows when to be ruthless. And he's just a great character, and he's someone I look up to lots, even though he's a fictional character. If you read one book this year, or in your life, make it this book. That character is absolutely phenomenal. And whenever I'm feeling anxious, whenever I'm feeling uncomfortable, or if I'm going into uncharted territory and I'm feeling, you know, like I have to put a mask on, I put the mask of the Count of Monte Cristo on. And in doing that, I feel confident, and I almost act like I am him. And I try and act as if he would. And I ask myself, I put myself in that boardroom and I say, what do you do? And I get an answer, and I act that way. And if you're going into uncharted times in your life, which you always are, or always moving forward, and you should be, really channel your inner Monte Cristo and definitely read this book. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching. And check out our other socials below where we post daily.